About.
Okay.
Yeah, it should be. I bet it's starting now. Lots of times it's to my end says it's setting up for YouTube live, but it's probably already live. So good morning. I am higher vibrations, and so are you. I want to say thank you all of you for joining today's show. It's really an exciting, special day, actually. This is the second Friday the 13th that we've had this month. And so it's just kind of one of those, wow, this is going to be fun to observe. And also something else came up that the last time we had Friday the 13th in March the 13th, it was 2020. And it was the day that they initially announced that they were starting the lockdown process. Didn't actually complete until 20 or March 27th. However, it'll be a fun conversation. This week, I'm welcoming back the well-known local with a whole lot of knowing of the deep magic on this amazing place, the Ozarks, the whole terrain here. It's got a lot of really cool history. She integrates many modalities to teach and liberate people from being lost to nature's call. And Angelia Heringer, I think is how you say it, known as
Yes,
the
yes.
Okay, good. Ozark Mystic is a folk medicine naturopath, storyteller, and spiritual educator based in the Arkansas Ozarks. Through her work at Wholistic Healing Arts, she blends local history, earth wisdom, neuroscience, and intuitive teaching to help people reconnect with themselves and to the land. Her talks, workshops, and retreats focus on nervous system healing, symbolic understanding, and the living memory of place, offering grounded spirituality for modern life. And what a good time to have you come on in a time like this. So thank you so much for joining us. How are you today?
I'm doing good and I'm excited about having this to do because it is the second. I mean, I feel like we just did Friday the 13th like a
Yeah.
second ago.
Yeah.
I just taught a class though last night on time speeding up or why it feels like time is speeding up, you know?
Yeah.
And it does though.
Yeah. It is speeding up. It's
All
clearly
right.
speeding.
It's weird out here.
Yeah, how do we keep track of that? Like I know there's some theories out there that are saying that we left time behind in the beginning of 2020 and we've been in a loop ever since. That's been some people's explanation for it. That's also in the book of Matthew, the time slippage.
Well, here's the time is never consistent everywhere, you know. So
Yeah.
I think a lot of times, like the faster we expand consciousness and we take in more information, that it feels like things are speeding up. And for
Yeah.
a long time, people had to go to school, you know, and so time kind of had like this rope on it to where it could only go so fast. And now people are getting more information than is even healthy, probably. And because of that, it is causing an expansion of the pineal gland. And within that expansion, it really speeds everything up.
Yeah. Yeah.
The risk of that would be not the risk, really, it depends on what frame of thought you're going with, but whenever time speeds up and everybody, starts to know all this stuff, then we hit the transcendental object at the end of time, which is like we either evolve up out into something else, or the realm just collapses.
Yeah. Yeah. That makes a lot of sense to me too. The way that I don't know if you know this about me, but I have conversations with like people who have passed on and things like that. And
Like
we
a
have so
mediumship.
yeah, yeah, I had a near-death experience when I was 4 and my life was never the same after that.
I've had
And
three near-death experiences, and I know what you're talking about because, yeah, it changes something forever. What
yeah.
happened to you for yours?
A bunch of stuff, but some knowings. I brought back some knowing with me, and uh, the plan was to die and then come back and be a young person right now for this time, but I understood that things had changed, and so I had the option to choose to stay in this body and do what I was meant to do next time. And so I've always had a belief in reincarnation, even though it was against the religion I was raised in, like because that was just something I knew. And
Right.
I was excited to take the challenge on, but it was like just finishing the first level of Donkey Kong, and then they're like, okay, now go beat, I don't even know what kinds of games they have now, but like high technology, advanced. And I was
Right.
excited about it, but it was like, okay, here we go, like, and it has been a wild ride ever since. Um, they showed me some stuff about trauma too. There was like a table-like thing that looked like a table, and it had all these little glowing stones on it, and each stone represented trauma. And there were too many stones on the table. Like I was like, oh no. Because as we incarnate, we come here, we have so much to heal. And if we don't heal it while we're here, when we come back, we bring the same trauma and it piles
Right.
up and piles up and piles up. And um, we can pick up the trauma for other people too when we come
Right.
back. And so I just filled my backpack. I remember being so mad at myself through my teens and stuff. Like I was such an arrogant soul. I'm like, yeah, give me all of it. And right after that, that was when they started trafficking me. That was when like all of that, you know, messed up abuse stuff started really happening was right after that. And so I chose it though. And
Mhm.
I'm not saying that I'm not condoning anything, any of that. I'm just saying like we come to and choose. We choose the trauma because if we can heal it, that's what spirit means when they say purification.
Right.
Purification
So
by fire.
you had to take on, or you agreed, to take on all that trauma to kind of clean it out,
Yeah.
purify it all through the fire, as they say.
Yeah.
You purged it. Mm.
Yeah. Yeah. What was your experience like?
Well, whenever I was probably 4 or 5, I drowned in a pool, and I thought that was a dream for a lot of time. I mean, for a long time, I thought it was like a dream. I wasn't sure. You know, it felt like a dream, but but it felt like a dream that I remembered very clearly, And I was going down in the water, and then, I saw like the light, which, you know, kind of like a giant sun or whatever. And and then I just kind of got thrown back in. Okay. When I was in my 20s, though, I was attacked in a parking lot, and he broke my skull open. And so I was just kind of left for dead there. And that time I jumped out of the body, and I was watching everything around me, and I was looking down at myself, and I saw blood coming out of my head and my eyes were open, but there was no fear or anything. I was just kind of like, well, okay,
Yeah.
I mean, I was pretty young. I was probably like 21, so I wasn't really scared about it. And they didn't think I was going to wake up. And that one was, pretty traumatic. And then a little bit later in life, whenever it happened, my heart just stopped. And I think that maybe I had COVID, or, or something in my heart. I had been sick. I wasn't actively sick. I had been sick. And I was having a hard time breathing. And within this time, it was like a whole different experience. It took me through the other experiences and like kind of told me all this stuff. And then it showed me a bunch of stuff, and it was like all of a sudden I just knew like all kinds of things. And it was more than I could really process. And I was probably only gone, for in earthly time for maybe like, I don't know, maybe 20 minutes. It wasn't long, like, but it felt like a
Yeah.
really long time. And it was dark, and I didn't see anything, but there was someone talking to me, and I call them sprites because I don't really know what they were, but it was like all these lights, and they were talking, they were telling me things like without talking. Anyway, so after that one, I had a whole different, I mean, it went from like 0 to a zillion on just all of it, like the clairs, the just weird understandings of things that I shouldn't have any way to understand. So, I didn't see what people would describe as God or anything, it wasn't like that. They gave me some sort of specific directions. They told me to quit trying to get out. Um, because this was the third time it happened. So they're like, it was like a lecture
Yeah.
about you're not supposed, and it was almost like they were treating me, and this is true to my personality, because it's almost like they were treating me like a kid trying to get out of doing something, you know. They were
Yeah.
like, you have got to quit jumping in on this side of the veil. So what I understand about it, about the dying process, as a lived experience, is that I had full control over it. I could have stayed or could have went, and I had an understanding about how to pull the soul back into the body. There, it was as if there was a map that I understood, So I I don't know. I think that I think most people probably have a choice. I
Yeah.
mean, because I fully was given a choice.
Yeah. Yeah. There's always a choice involved. You always get to
Right,
decide. You know,
right.
I got the same sensation. So that first time, so I've had at least five near-death experiences. So we have the same story. It's really
Yeah.
cool just to kind of,
It kind of just like keeps happening.
yeah. And I remember that first time when I chose to come back at 4, it was literally the day before my fourth birthday, is how that
You're
worked
like, you
out.
got a birthday party tomorrow.
Yeah, right.
You got to get back in the game.
Yeah. Was I knew that I couldn't go early. If I stayed, I needed to stay. And
Mm.
at the time, I was like, sure, Again, that was one of those things that I had thought back throughout my life, cursing myself, just being like, what were you thinking? Like people die on accident all the time. And I did. I was that person that, and I don't condone it. I'm glad it didn't work. But at the time, I was upset that I would plan for a long time and it was unsuccessful. You know what I mean?
What's your 12th house look like in astrology?
That's a question I don't have an answer for. I have a chart. I have to go look stuff up. Like I don't have I'm not as interested in my own chart, so I don't know as thoroughly as other people.
Well, whenever people are prone to near death and stuff, a lot of time their 12th house will be stacked with those experiences, because the 12th house is that in between world right there.
Interesting. Yeah.
So, um, yeah, I think that you should look at that and look into that, because it really, it should tell that story.
That's fascinating. Yeah, I'll look that up. I'm actually pulling it up, but I won't distract myself too much from it right now, but that's fascinating. Thank you.
Well,
Um,
and what's odd about that too is that from the moment you were born, that was all sitting there probable. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
um, from that one moment you were born. But I've been studying ancient soul technology for a little bit, and the the science of biological soul transference and stuff. And I
Mhm.
believe that it is absolutely being done, probably because it is very doable. And the ancients understood soul technology at a level that we have not even begun to tap into. And
Right,
so they had the whole civilization, like we're the Western world. They had the whole world, like the whole world, even on different continents, set up with this ancient soul technology.
right.
And I believe that it involves some kind of biological soul transferring. And that may be why um, kids go missing all the time too.
Right. Right. That does make a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Interesting. I'm totally gonna look that up. Thank you very much for for saying something about it. Because like, yeah, I don't really think about myself when it comes to that kind of thing. The soul transfer is very fascinating concept to me too. Is like, will you go a little bit more into that? Like, so is that similar to like a walk in, walk out kind of concept?
Kind of, except for when you think of a walk in, walk out, you think of someone that's already crossed over. And whenever we're talking about biological soul transference in on this side of the veil, it would have to be that the physical body was going to exit at a very specific astrological marker at a very specific place where they have created a as are, same as above as below. So they
Mm,
would have to create um very and we can I kind of know when those times would be. I don't know if I should say it on here, but so astrologically, um there's different times where this would be applicable. And like that is why pyramids and mounds were astrologically aligned, is because um they were practicing this their whole life through initiation and ritual.
right,
And they would practice it as in they would go with maybe another person or shaman, and they would have a shared astral experience that they put themselves into. And how they would put themselves into this could have varied because they could have been using stuff like ayahuasca,
right.
peyote, and that's why in the later Native Americans, the echo of that is still used. Or they could have been using chant and breathing and you know what I mean? But
Yeah,
they were going into a deep, dark place like a pyramid or maybe a mound, like because those mimicked a cave.
yeah,
And what do we do? In the cave is it symbolically is a womb, and a womb is like what the cave symbols because we come out of the dark like that. And
yeah,
so, whenever you're going to try to mimic a rebirth process, even if you're just visiting it, you're going to need to situate yourself back in the womb. You're going to need to mimic that environment. And so for practice, they call it the path of souls usually. And what it was doing is it was trying to simulate a near death experience,
right,
right? And in the near death experience with your shaman and whoever, they're going to guide you there, but that is still in the astral realm when they're doing it. And that way, though, whenever your actual rebirth came of death, that you would be able to take full memory up into that circuit and be back born back, because what would happen in these older cultures is the elders a lot of times would leave right before someone had a baby, and they would say, I'm going to come back as the baby, right?
mm,
I'm going to come back as my grandchild, as the ancestor. So they did it with, kind of an understood, learned thing. Now, of course, this was the feminine mystery, right? This is they were basically living it as a society. So I don't know if it would have been just the priest and the priestesses were capable of doing it, or if it was just everybody was.
right,
And I say that because if you're going to live a more feminine, and this is a good topic for Friday the 13th, because if you're going to live a real feminine civilization as a whole, well, it takes out capitalism, right?
yeah,
It takes out everything that's going on because it goes back to like more of a barter and more of like we don't have to have a bunch of rules, and we don't need to be told how to be human at that level anymore.
yeah,
And so to do that, you would have to teach people how to have simulated near death experiences regular, maybe at certain ages, and those would be called initiations. And what they would do in those is that you would go in and clean out your 12th house. You would clean out your shadow, and you would do it with precision. And that way you didn't act out the unconscious on the group, right?
Right. That makes a lot of
So
sense. Because it's kind of
in
like littering, right?
yeah, it's littering all your junk, out up and if you had everybody being taught that first of all, this material world is real, but it's not all the way what you think. You know what I mean? You would make it to where people knew how to naturally clean everything out regularly, and that was the real initiations. Now you've got all these weird break off secret societies, and what they're all doing is they're secretly um, studying the feminine mysteries or whatever. But at the height of that, to be the wizard above all other wizards in any of these little secret society groups, the highest thing you can learn is immortality. And the reason in a patriarchal society, in a left brain society, that they want it is very different than what it's made for. It's made not as a death or escaping death. It is about learning how to rebirth with skill,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. And the practice that they began to follow, and is a counterpart to that, is that the shaman's death is that they would dig a grave and sleep in it overnight. And what I mean, that's the divine masculine idea of the counterpart that is the cave. And
Right,
I mean, this part of the world is the land of caves. There's so many caves around here. And each one has a story to tell.
right. We are cavey for sure.
Yeah.
But I
That's
am that's what I do for hobby kind of is I go and I like to go to the caves and I like to be in the caves and everything to do with the caves. But and the river, I'm not as much of a hike to the highest peak mountain person. I'm more attracted to, you know why? Because to have a desire to always go to the peak is more of a masculine because you want to go external, you want to go high. And I'm really drawn to going internal and like with depth. I
yeah.
want to go in the cave. I want to go in the water.
Yeah. And this water especially, I'm a transplanter, so I'm still experiencing this like an infant, it's like everything's new still. But the aquifers that come up, it's like all this old, beautiful water. I mean, and I found out just a couple of days ago that it's in the Ozarks that the only place they're like, no, don't dam this up. Leave it, let it stay the way it is. And so it has that's why it has such a unique, way about it, is that it's still all of this ancient. Oh, and then like how they actually the scientists were calling it a biological island because so much has been preserved by it, being like you have like the Great Plains to the west, the Gulf Coastal Plain to the south, and then this Ozark Plateau that kind of like stops everything from interfering from it. You know what I mean? So like
Well,
these old dinosaur-like fish, and like there's like so many different variety of crawfish that only live here, and stuff like that.
regular fish too. So, Arkansas, I love that you're a transplant and that you still love all of it and think all of it's exciting because I think what happens a lot of times are the natives are not looking at it with those fresh eyes and they're kind of desensitized to it,
Right.
you know. Um, so long ago, there was a continent called Laurentia. And Laurentia was, before the platonic shifts, you know, And what the Ozarks were in Laurentia was like it was the ocean, but it was like shallow ocean. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so everything else around it was still regular ocean. And so the entire Ozark area was the first to come up out of the water because it was a little island, and it had an interesting thing because there was an uplift. And so most mountains go north to south all over the globe. And whenever the Ouachitas had this uplift, whenever they came up out of Laurentia and became the original little, island, they actually went east to west.
Yeah.
And so the fact that right down, the middle of the state, you got everything else is going north to south all over the continent. But then there's this huge mountain range that's going east to west,
Yeah.
and that creates a cross. And it actually is very, very, very unusual, and it creates a lot of unique spiritually, quantum physically, all these things because of it's going the opposite direction.
Yeah. And they're made up of this like sacred stone. Like this stuff is also quartz. People don't usually realize that that's like this is a heart, right? That's why I thought it was on
Yeah.
gold. But, like, what like and the limestone and then they're finding all these giant remains again that they had like hidden in the
And
water.
well, and the thing is that these are cycles of time. When it was Laurentia, this is why Arkansas gets pulled back into the Lemuria and the Atlantis conversation all the time, is because it was the oldest one on the continent. It came up first. If you go deep enough into the cave system, you've entered another dimension of time, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
even NASA tells us that in the Arctic, the North Pole or whatever, that they found an ocean twice as big as the ocean we know about, and time there runs backwards,
Mm,
right? So, I
right.
mean, like, what you've got going on here is more complicated than humans are meant to really understand, because the reason you don't have all these memories of all of these different experiences is because if you did, then you've entered the central pedal node again,
Yeah.
right? You're just energy again. You're not having a individualized soul experience. You've entered the one kind of. And so you can't do that and just have full, the mysteries are the mysteries, and they're actually safe to stay the mysteries. You know,
That's
if you
so
break it down all the way, you're going to break it down too far.
right. Right.
Right.
And that's where the mystery schools probably justify their secrecy, for so long. They're like, we can't talk about it a lot because if we do, then, well, first of all, people will stop aging at such a progressed rate. And, you know, I don't know what that is about. I'm not condoning that behavior, but the whole preserve and hide kind of stuff that's been going on for,
I think that what went wrong with a lot of the mystery schools that is that everybody, without meaning to be, has been living in a very dense materialized
yeah,
dimension. Everything is very materialized. And so that means it's very like left hemisphere of the brain. And to understand the mysteries, you need to be thinking more probably with the right hemisphere of the brain. And the average person even you're pushed into it,
yeah,
because everything's linear. You've got to get a job. You got to be good in kindergarten. By God, you better be good in the first grade. You're going to be in the second next year. Like
right.
that is very much training our brains to stay within that left hemisphere of
Yeah.
the material. And to understand the mysteries, that's not the part of the brain that you're going to use. So
Yeah,
they've tried to do everything in a very external, literal way, which is why they always miss the mark, right?
right.
I mean, in my opinion, they keep missing the mark, you know.
Right. I agree with you 100%. I mean, I didn't really observe it as much until I became a mom. Like
Right.
the how deep the religion of capitalism runs in the world that we exist in, or choose to no longer exist in. And that's what it's been about being a mom for me is you know, it's all about teaching the kids buy more, buy more. You need the whole set. You need the new
Right.
season of it. It's like just starting out as a toddler, and that's
Yeah,
trained.
now 2-year-olds are like, they got their own phone.
Yeah. I was
Crazy.
shocked how many people were telling me I should just get her a phone and get her a phone plan. And she, what? This time she
Crazy.
was like a year and a half, 2 years old. Yeah. I'm like,
How
yeah,
old is your little girl?
she's 11 now. She still doesn't have a phone. There's no reason for her to have a phone.
There isn't. No, I'm all for feral children raising.
Yeah.
Like in the hills, whenever, people will complain about it and they'll be like, they got them people living out there. They took their kids out of the school. I'm like, look at the world right now. We need kids that are not being programmed that way anymore,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know?
It's becoming more and more common as like I started paying attention to the homeschool like nerve of the planet, I guess, when I was pregnant because I decided that's what we were going to do. And it's becoming more and more popular, especially after the initial lockdown that happened. Parents started to see through Zoom what was happening in the classroom for the first time, and they're like, "Wait,
So you're sending your kids to school for 8 hours a day. And whenever they get locked down, it was like in 30 minutes, my kids would complete everything.
yeah,
So I'm like, so what are you doing all day?
yeah,
You know?
yeah,
Um, the thing is that they want the schools dissolved because a big part of education was just indoctrination.
yep,
And the ones that put the system that we grew up in together, well, that whole system is being like deconstructed right now with intention. It doesn't rarely fall apart on its own. And so it's being deconstructed. And because of that, there's a tax credit that you can get to homeschool your kids and and stuff like that. That's going to slowly, we try to put my son in a homeschool situation when he was like 11, I think. And it wasn't going to be with us, but he was having a hard time, so we weren't going to go to the school anymore. I mean, they kind of made it a lot more difficult back then for you to do homeschool. Like they were making it hard, like, and
yeah,
now they're like rewarding you if you'll do it. But
yeah,
what if it was all about indoctrination and everyone has one of these,
yeah,
you don't really need it anymore.
yeah, yeah,
And
exactly.
if they can, this is Orwell right here because they can rewrite it as they go. That's why I collect all these books, like old books and stuff, though. Is because, I mean, at some point, you're going to be like, baseline, what the hell's going on here? You
Yeah.
know?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, in fact, it's really fascinating that you brought that up because there's a little rabbit hole I jumped down recently because uh well, first of all, AI can't read cursive, right? The cursive writing and most of our older documents are, the penmanship was held up really high at that point. You'll
Right.
see the way people write is it's cursive, but it's really artistic. And um, there is this initiative down like southern Arkansas having to do with the school. More and more people are pulling their kids out of school. And so the teachers have said that they're going to reinitiate the teaching of cursive in the classroom if they bring their kids back. And like, why would that be the little nugget, right? Unless it had more importance than people have been
Right.
giving it, you know?
Well, I mean, in the George Orwell book, he's secretly writing in this book, right? And if he gets caught with it, like off with his head.
Yeah,
And so, I mean, that's kind of probably what we're watching creep in, right? Is that there's not going to be these secret languages anymore, you know?
yeah,
But,
yeah. And then,
yeah,
you know, along with that, uh, so how it's worked out, I think it's the last time I looked, it might be different right now. But the last time I looked, it was about one third of America are at least half-time homeschool with their kids.
really, that's
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
like that.
That says a lot. You know, there's a lot of people representing that number, you know.
Well, and I think that they actually learn more real world things whenever, I mean, what about school is training you to be in the real world? You're not ever going to be only hanging out with your peers.
No.
I only hang out with the third grade, but
Right.
they're not, everything about it's wrong. Whenever the linear course concept of school was put together, though, you were going to work in a factory, you might have be a stay-at-home mom, or you might join the military. You needed to know how to follow directions and not question what you're being told.
Right.
And that is completely how they set it up.
Right.
And they didn't set the full structure of society up much different than that,
No.
right?
No.
But we learned it when we were little kids. We
Right.
learned not to ask questions. That this is the final say, you know?
I was the kid that didn't start school till ninth grade because of my own ex thing that was happening. It ended up being a benefit to me. Um,
Right.
and I starting school at 14 it was very clear to me some of the things that didn't I was always in the principal's office. You
Because
know,
you're
they
like,
called me
what
the
are they?
class clown because I was like, she's lying to you guys. I'm not going to let my peers,
Right.
they're just,
You saw through it.
yeah, they're
Yeah.
just absorbing all of this lies and these, you know, and I'm like, that's not true.
Right.
Especially, I loved history. And then when I started school, that was what I was looking forward to was history class. And she was just lying. And it was clear lies. It was obvious. You know, don't tell me that I'm 90 to 90% junk DNA. You know,
Right.
what am
Right.
I, a platypus?
Well, and if they've been going since they were 3 or 4, like they're not questioning it. One of the biggest blessings we probably have are the kids that are coming in with ADHD and dyslexia because they're almost unprogrammable,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know. People that have like are on the spectrum, I mean, their psychic abilities are off the charts.
yeah,
And because of that, they are gonna like intuit like things and not be like, oh my God, that's wrong. But if they act out or say it, they're gonna get in trouble,
yeah,
which makes it hard for them to get along well in the system very long.
yeah.
And ADHD, bless their heart, they were trying to get brainwashed with the other kids, but their attention kept jumping,
Right.
so it
Yep.
didn't work.
It didn't take. Yeah,
It
and it
didn't
ended up being
take
their superpower in the end of the day, but it did make them feel like, you know, an outlier. Something's wrong with them.
not enough.
Yeah.
They grow up hearing about what's wrong with them, probably, like take your meds, you're getting on my nerves, or there's like I mean, I've seen that, with friends' kids actually, where they do have ADHD and they put them on these medicines and then that becomes a crutch that later in life they don't know how to function without it, you know?
Yeah.
And so then you get like drug addiction and different things like that. And you know, the answer to addiction and all of it is we start teaching a deeper soul technology back in. We need people to not just be like, oh, that's woo woo and stuff. No, we need people to understand how to clear their shadow regularly, and we need them to understand more about how to calm themselves and to pull back into source. And yeah, you got a lot of weird situations where people are sick in the heads and they're doing really crazy things. But if you take these animals and you put them in, think of that blackfish about the SeaWorld orca, right? That orca waited until the whole audience was full and then mauled that lady in front of them. That
Mm,
was a psychosis because he's meant to swim around the globe every day, and
yeah.
you've got him in a swimming pool doing tricks, you know what I mean, for like shitty food, I'm sure. And so the thing is that we can't be like all orcas are evil or bad,
Right.
but what we've got right now is humanity, not just one person. The entire group of humanity is in some kind of materialized psychosis.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. And just again going back, that's that masculine way, that
Right.
capitalism, it's all of it. It's the same thing. In fact, the invention of capitalism could be pointed out at different times in timeline, though this one in particular, the it's an interesting topic, though in brief, uh, the people who were responsible for not allowing for the National Reserve and the privatization of banks and stuff like that were all on the Titanic when it surprisingly sunk. So, and the other
Right.
people who were the ones that wanted to do what they were doing, either didn't end up showing up or canceled like hours before it left, right? And they ended up being one of them, the Rothschild family stayed
Right.
behind, right? When they wrote and started the privatization when the Federal Reserve and all that stuff started, it's the Rothschild name that's on there. The model of public school and of the model of Western medicine were all written by the same people. And what was really fascinating is it's a public document and anybody can go find it. Um, the model of public school or the school system, it says it right in there. We are not raising future thinkers. We are raising future workers. We do not condone or reward free thinking.
Right.
It's right there in there and they're freaking, that's their template for what the classroom's supposed to look like. To just
And
go on
so
the point.
the only way that we dissolve all of that, right, is and so that we can have something new is going to look like chaos for a minute.
Yeah.
And so whenever we talk about the chaos, we talk about it on the Friday the 13th to get the point across, right? Because Friday the 13th represents the chaos, which is kind of what happens when you're birthing something new, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
It's the rebirth of humanity. And it's going to start with the mothers, okay? Because the mothers have the most influence over the children,
Yeah.
you know. We have to start teaching the kids, you know, if you've got too much energy to sit still in that classroom, then thank God, because that means your little soul is here to play.
Yeah.
Right? It's not here to be trained like an animal.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we teach everyone how to bring themselves back in to focus and back into um, being a self-regulating. machine, which that you already are, you know, and it's the mothers that have to do it.
Yeah. In fact, that's fun that you brought that up because that's actually what why we're here.
Right,
That's why we're in Arkansas. That's the because when I was 14, I had another one of my experiences, and it was this massive vision, and I had visions in between then and now as well, but that was the first one. And we were creating basically a neighborhood, but it was full of single moms. You
right.
know, there were more than just single moms, but basically most everybody that was there were single moms, you know, and it was just what you're talking about. It was like a spiritually, and it was um, folk medicine is so, it's so annoying they say new age medicine. It drives me crazy because there's nothing new about it. It's the
It's
oldest of the
folk
old.
medicine, and you don't want them to be able to put a certification or a licensing on all these things because that is why
Yeah.
we don't have any control right now over the medical care system, is because they literally stole the folk medicine and then uprooted the plants and stuff so that nobody had access to it on their own. And if you were messing with it, you were a witch and they should, get
Yeah.
rid of you.
Yeah.
And the thing is that we don't need that many rules to survive. As a matter of fact, to treat all of these humans like they are just cattle, you know, is in their best interest, I guess, but it isn't really fair to all the souls that are here.
Yeah.
Cosmic laws would tell us that you're not allowed to mess with things on a certain scale using manipulation,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? And
Exactly.
that's what's happened. And it's changing right now. I mean, we're entering the chaos, and a lot of people, or we're in the chaos, we're here. But a lot of people are like, oh my gosh, things are so wonky and it's all chaos. Um, well, for one, you've done this before probably because time loops around back on itself. So
Yeah.
this isn't anybody's first rodeo with it.
Yeah. And that goes back to the fun part, that we talked about so many different topics and we keep jumping around, but the how time goes backwards in the caves around here. Like it
Yes,
really freaking does. And then you come out. There's been times where I've actually come out and like I it's a different day. Like it's literally like something changed up on top from me going
right.
underneath.
Well, because the reason time isn't always consistent is based on the gravity, of the gravity changes it. The electromagnetic energy will change, how it's moving. And so when you go down into a cave, you are going where the gravity and everything has changed like dramatically,
Mm.
you know? And
Yeah.
so it is a different world.
Yeah.
But when you come out, you're like, we're where where are we? You
Yeah.
know? It's rebirth, and energetically to regularly, uh you know you wouldn't have to do like these initiations of spending time in the cave. You wouldn't have to do them like all the time, but I think that to have it where it was a pilgrimage, and maybe I'll even make one for the Ozarks, like that
Mm.
there's a pilgrimage where at these certain points in your life that you take that journey back into the womb for a spiritual rebirth. And if anybody wants to do soul transference, I know how to do that too now. No,
Cool.
just
And
kidding.
also, for anyone wondering, by the way, because we're airing through Zoom instead of Restream, I wasn't able to put all of her contact information on anything on the description of the video yet, but I'm gonna do it as soon as we're done going live. I'm gonna go back and add that for anyone who wants to know how to contact you, because I know people are wondering already, because we haven't. Uh, um, there's how long do you want to talk? We could talk forever, honestly. We could keep going. I'm just giving you the
How long have
gist.
we been on here?
Mm, only almost an hour.
You want to go 30 more minutes?
Sure. I'd love to. Thank
Okay.
you.
Yeah, we'll go.
Um, I'm from originally where most of my exploration has been is like the West Coast. So like Utah, Colorado, Wyoming, Idaho, and Washington, but like the inland side of Washington where all the caves are, really close to the biggest Native American reservation, the Spokane Reservation.
Yeah,
And there's a lot of caves out there. And where I really got my first real love for caves was I started to, because just like we talked about, I see things that not everybody sees, but everybody can see,
right.
you know, um, is that these caves have always been used as apothecaries. The folk medicine you're talking about and the
Yeah,
cave, they go together. And
right.
somehow they're like preserved in this time capsule. This was like a storehouse for them in this earlier time.
Well, that's a lot of what they will usually, even around here, what they'll, when they excavate and they find things in caves, is it'll be little medicine bags and stuff, you know. But there's a chance that the medicine person lived at the cave.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because that's
Right.
where because they understood what you were doing there, like with the process of healing was to pull people back into the womb. You
Yeah.
know, the pyramids were trying to replicate this. And, well, they were, I think somewhere in down in one of our cycles that people got, um, confused and started trying to rebirth back into another body, you know,
Right.
but they still, so they built temples and they matched it up with these portal energies and with the astrology and stuff. And they're, you know, if you think about it, is that what a mummy is? Is the original vessel being wrapped up and preserved
Right.
while they're soul jumping
Right.
biological bodies?
That's super fascinating to consider.
Well, if they're already talking about right now being able to put like your soul in a robot or android at some point, that is soul transference. They already know how to do it. They already know how to do it. That means that the chances of there being people that aren't doing it is slim.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's some stuff. It's This is I'm not saying this is true or not true. It's just one of those things when I heard it, I was like, whoa,
Right.
I I'm not that video gamer person that I was at a younger age, so I don't know. It's not for
Look, I
my
got Tetris going right now back here.
right on. See, there you go. Tetris, Pong. Like Donkey Kong and stuff. I'm
Right.
for 64 is really was a good time. But um is that gamers are finding the NPCs are non-player characters. There's nobody like steering them. They have like an automated response, right?
Right.
And they're finding these individuals are approaching them kind of panic, saying, "Where am I at? Where am I? Can you help me get home? And tell my family I'm safe. Tell me, and it's
In
like
the game.
in the game and they're like, is that really a person? Because they're feeling like there's somebody that got like transferred into a video game. Like Tron. Remember Tron back in the
Yeah.
80s?
I
It's
mean, all of this is potentially possible, you know.
right.
I mean, for anyone to sit and say right now, with the limited understanding of the world you've been brought up in, for anyone to be able to say with exactness what is possible and impossible, you can't,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, technology in and of itself, they're talking about right now putting consciousness into, you know, Carl, will you plug the phone up? I mean, not the phone, the computer is going dead. My husband's fixing to have to, it's all corded, all crazy. He's gonna have to come in and like hook things up
Thank you.
on the back, maybe.
Yeah, it's fascinating to see how there's so many of these things that are just, I don't know, it's been out there forever. Like the story of Thor. the whole Odin and all that stuff, the belief back then was the same, is that there was a soul transference, that there was one body to another kind of concept. And like you can go into the ET conversation, the Greys are known for not being able to reproduce,
Right.
you know? And so they just move consciousness from one body to a newer body, you
And
know?
that if to do this, they would need biological likeness, because if you were going to take the soul from one, first of all, there's a map you got to know. You know what I mean? There's some high ceremonial things you got to understand. But if you were going to do it, you have got to have a biological match for the soul,
Yeah.
and that would make sense when you think of maybe like in these files coming out about Epstein, where he had like farms where he was trying to get everybody pregnant,
Mm,
right? I mean, things like that. Like, I'm not saying that he is or isn't, but I'm saying that like that would be something you would look for, because
right.
you would need the any time whenever you needed to be able to do it, you would need so many options for your biological match.
Right, right. That makes sense to me. I mean, and this isn't something that I have any feeling that I need to be concerned about. Just in case anyone's listening and kind of, there's no reason to be scared.
Yeah.
Just wow, there's some stuff that we're in an age of revelation, and
Yeah.
we're finding out stuff that it may be just for entertainment to even explore because it really doesn't change me for me,
Nothing,
who I am.
nothing ever changes unless people are adventurous enough to speak outside of the box,
Yeah,
right? If you are always trying to stay in what you already believe, then nothing ever gets figured out.
right.
You
Right.
know?
If you don't ever change anything, if you don't ever do anything different, nothing ever changes. And sometimes that seems like it's a good idea, but then we look at it and it's not sustainable, And it is something that we are experiencing right now is that we're in like five corridors. I don't know if you
Mhm.
know about all these different corridors that we're in. And what's really fascinating is a lot of them peak all on the equinox. Oh, also Mercury retrograde. Mercury goes out of retrograde on the equinox this year too, which is a week from today. You know,
Well, the equinox is a threshold anyway, you know what I mean? And so you're supposed to have a rebirth right there.
yeah, 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 and during that rebirth, there's always, like you said, you made reference to the chaos a few times. That I was just thinking it would be helpful for people to hear this. A lot of Tower of Babel kind of stuff going on right now. Like a lot of
Yeah.
people like misunderstanding each other and thinking there's some kind of a fight and a lot of different areas of my life. I know you mentioned some stuff like this.
Yeah. I mean, so it's like on my post, I can see that like in the comments, people are like fighting, kind of, they're bickering back and forth, but it sounds like they are all like just misunderstanding each other, kind of. I
Yeah.
mean, it's not, sometimes people are bickering and fighting because they're like, no, you shouldn't vote for this, and it's not, it's like
Yeah.
they're having fights of miscommunication. And this is to be expected because right now, Saturn, your structure, is in Neptune, and Neptune blurs things. And when Neptune transits anything in astrology, it kind of causes friction and fights a little bit whenever, like Mars, or because of misunderstanding. And I feel like you throw that in Aries 0 degrees, everybody was already restless
Yeah.
because they're like it's a shaky feeling. And then you've got Mercury retrograde. And it's like
Yeah.
utter confusion within the comment section. I mean, I don't even know how to respond because I'm like, I don't even think y'all are all talking about the same thing.
Yeah. What are you going to say to it? Like then, and they're not going to understand you anyway. They're
Right.
just,
If I'm like, right.
I
I
had that
think it's
happen. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, it's proof that Mercury in retrograde's causing something.
Right. Well, and Saturn Neptune conjunction, like it did, hasn't happened since the Berlin Wall fell. That's just to
Right.
give some kind of reference. And then also Neptune being in Aries, ha that's the anniversary of the country for a reason. That's the 250-year cycle. And
Well,
so
oh, go ahead.
there's a lot of like people are realizing that what they've been doing or the way they've been living, it doesn't feel right anymore. They don't even know
Right.
why. They're kind of like the salmon run. They don't know
Right.
why they're going upstream against the current. They just know they have to, you know?
That's just creating confusion.
Yeah.
And the thing is that we're in a pre-shadow for Uranus moving into to Gemini for the next 7 years too. So Uranus is also technology, and Gemini is communication and technology or whatever. And so, but all of this falls under this umbrella of Pluto and Aquarius, right? Because all of it gets triggered right there. And every single time it plays out, just like you're watching it play out. That's why if you were going to write a sacred book for the next people, you could, you would write it right about now because this is called the fourth turning, and that's where we rewrite the myth every time, but you would know that it's going to play out. There's going to be a revelation at the end where everything's going to kind of be like exposed.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's already happening. Like, and we're being flooded with knowledge, information. And, I know for a lot of us, um, having AI represented is doesn't seem like it's all that great. It feels like it's confusing or disorientating instead of helpful. Though I've discovered a little side effect of it is that for a lot of the people I talk with and stuff in these groups, is that it's created the need to learn spiritual discernment. Is it true?
Well,
Right? And let
so
yourself go ahead.
if you think about masculine, they have a penis, right? And when we're in a masculine energy and everything kind of mimics the penis, right? It externalizes. It wants to hunt and gather. It wants to. God becomes externalized. Space becomes externalized. Everything under masculine energy wants to externalize itself, and whenever you're in a feminine, obviously, because the woman has a vulva and so it's internal, but women internalize everything and they want to you know, to the mystery of for the females, when they talk about space, they're not really talking about stars and planets that you could get on a spaceship and fly to. They're
Yeah.
talking about it as consciousness. And so right now, right, you're watching this kind of like battle or something of it
Mhm.
happen where it's utter confusion, but it always works itself out, right? And it always turns like we've been in this masculine energy. So right now we're watching it move through the exact same thing it always does. There's got to be a Babel, you know what I mean? The Tower of Babel, like everybody has to be mixed up because you cannot rewrite the myth
Yeah.
without confusing the tongue, right?
Yeah.
And that's kind of what we're watching, but it is biblical, and it was biblical the last time you did it.
Yeah.
Every astrology chart imprint, it comes back in like 18,000 year intervals or something. That means your exact degree and everything comes back every 18,000 years. And so you've done this before if you're here right now. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Yeah. Definitely. And the
What?
everlasting aspect that you are.
Right. And it comes, but you're gonna you're supposed it's gonna come back. You're gonna loop around again, and you're supposed to do it maybe with more complexity. So like what you're saying about the trauma that builds up and everything. Well, I mean, sometimes before you come in, you're going to be like, okay, I'm going to go ahead and clean this up, right? And we
Yeah,
can tell who's already cleaning stuff up based on the astrology chart too, because that's going to tell us how much shit they decided to take on, kind of, you know, um, and what and why. But the thing is that before you got here, you were already, you've already done it and you already kind of mapped out, like, I'm going to try to do it different this time. It was kind of already pre-mapped.
yeah, yeah. My South Node's in Pisces, and I understand that as that. That's the soul completion. That's the full cycle, starting over again from the beginning.
Right. And your South Node being in Pisces is like also signifying that you were coming in with gifts early,
Yeah,
like whenever you got here, you were already having like the compassionate and the softness and kind of maybe self-sacrificing, you know what I mean? Like willing to self-sacrifice, and that means that in this life that your goal is to be putting all the dreamy to action, kind of, it's not to just be that everescent, like
right.
spirit, whatever, but to try to put some like oomph into it.
Yeah, yeah. That's been always my goal. So that's very well put together in your response to that. I mean, like that's I've come here I know, to help people. Like I came here, like I know that you did too. I feel that about you. I feel there's a kinship there. We came in almost like rescue missioners, you know? Like we,
Right, right. And that may be even well, like for you with your South Node being in Pisces, okay? Like that is Pisces is led by Neptune, and Neptune is that realm, like the realm. It is the afterlife and stuff lives in Neptune. And so you came in with this Pisces South Node. And so what that kind of tells us is that with your near-death experiences, is that it felt very easy for you, if given the opportunity, to pull back behind the veil, right,
yeah,
in back into it because you were more comfortable there than not there,
yeah,
you know?
yeah,
And so not everybody's veil is going to be that thin whenever they come in,
right, right.
based on where they're coming from.
At
Um,
least for now. I feel like the veil is like it looks like a whoopee. You know those blankets with all the holes that kids carry around?
yeah.
It's like see-through.
Right. The veil is it is like that. And in a what we're going into, everything it will be that way. That is going through the Metatron, that is the rapture, all of these are different words for the same thing, going through the Stargate, the transcendental object. And what AI really is doing right now is AI is working like a mirror for you, not for you personally, but I mean like for everybody,
Right.
right? Because it's only made up out of the stuff that we have put in,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And so the thing is right now it is mirroring everything back to people. Okay. And what that does is it's going to expand the consciousness, much like a psychedelic. And sometimes whenever, you're expanding the consciousness very fast, the way the information and stuff is now, sometimes people have a bad trip. Right. And that's whenever they start losing their anchor. They can't find what's real anymore. And so it's really important that people solidify what's real. And that's why I am such a big person about it isn't about me talking the lingo and all that bullshit. I don't care about any of that. I'm talking about souls here and that everything's changing very fast. And the only thing that you can hold on to in that is nature.
Yeah.
Nature is the anchor. And so it's not about people believing anything I say or believing, I don't believe in outer space necessarily. I think is planes of existence, and I'm more into like there's a bottomless ocean going on.
Oh
But
yeah.
it doesn't matter to me if someone's all in on aliens and space because that's not the point. Right now, the point is that they're anchored in somewhere
Yeah.
and the truth is written on your heart. It's what it says in the Bible. But people have been going too fast to listen to their heart. And the only thing that'll bring you straight back, there's two things that'll bring me straight back. My kids. Now, I mean, your kid is grounding you, right? Like that is very grounding when when you're parenting and stuff. But when times are this uncertain, go put your feet in a creek.
Yeah.
Go back into because that is solidified, real, and it will auto tune your nervous system. And all an aura is your nervous system. So if you want to have control over your energy and your energy field, you really have to learn how to do it yourself, not take a Xanax, or a
Right.
couple hits of wine. That's not the point. You've got to be able to do it without anything else. And humans are capable of that. If they're taught young enough, they'll be able to do it.
Yeah. And that's the main point too, isn't it? Teaching the children. And like you were saying earlier, teach the moms so the moms can teach the children.
Exactly. Because the thing is we're just way showers. You know what I mean? Like we're just we're paving a little bit of direction and a little bit of way because these children that are being born right now, these wild energies we're talking about that are revolutionary, these are the children born into those energies. These kids aren't going to just go along with anything.
Yeah, right. Yeah, and they have a whole different spectrum to them of energy.
They
I
come
see energy too, and they don't, you can, it's interesting too. It seems like it's growing exponentially in this crystalline way every year since 2010 every year the meaning so a child will be born in 2011 2012 so on they're more and more crystalline. In fact, that's when scientists finally started to say that 90 to 95% of our DNA isn't junk DNA after all. Surprise,
right.
it was dormant DNA. And that's why we're going through ascension symptoms is our dormant DNA is coming out of dormancy. But some of these kids, they're born with it already out of dormancy.
Any kid being born, like especially right now, they are all being born for a world that the people here cannot see yet.
Yeah,
They are being born for a world that is going to be, instead of thinking of it like technologically magic, they're going to have to be the magicians.
right.
It's the land of Mu starting all over again.
Yeah.
And Atlantis is kind of falling right now,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. When it didn't actually fall the first time in a lot of ways. I mean, you get the stories about Rome falling and, but what happened when Rome fell, they started calling it Roman Catholicism. I'm not bashing any specific religion. I'm not bashing any religion at all. I just see that there's a greater story to tell there that's been missing, right?
The Dark Ages.
Yeah, good. Yeah, exactly.
You're right.
Yeah. And we're moving away from that now. I like that you brought up the fourth turning because that's really what this is.
It is. It's in the fourth turning, the myth is rewritten, but that is still like if you think about astrology, it's a clock, right?
Mhm.
And it's not really that mysterious or confusion. It's the clock of your consciousness. Your pineal gland only sees 3% of anything going on. And if you are looking up into outer space, it is literally just mirroring back to you your consciousness. Because just like it can only see 3% of what's going on, it cannot see into eternity. It
Right.
can't see that far away. And so it mirrors back. And because of that, it's just one big clock. And whenever the clock comes around, these different things happen, right? Over and over and over. And so Atlantis has had a lot of different names, but Atlantis is really the word of an archetype realm. When we were in that realm, we called it Atlantis. Now, when we were really there, we may have called it America. I don't know. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
But we understand it as an archetype. We understand it like Lemuria. Lemuria is an archetype of a time whenever we are all in that dimension.
yeah,
And right now, all of those dimensions could be playing out at once. So you don't want to try to break it down too much, right? But that's block theory, you know.
well,
But the thing is that all of it loops around that clock over and over again. And some people are going to remember more of it because they understand the soul technology of the old ways
yeah,
intuitively.
yeah. I totally agree. And it that technology, there's a lot of little subtleties that are generally accepted just because someone else has repeated it enough times, it's assumed that that's correct. You know, like for
Neurolinguistic programming is very, very, you know, it works. I don't know what you think.
instance, that was the first thing I noticed when I started school is you had to raise your hand to go to the bathroom and to talk. And everybody was repeating like a chant, like
Right?
those old cult documentaries of Jonestown. You know, I was like, this is like Jonestown. And this is like public school. This is how they do it. You know?
It is set up just like a Jonestown. That's the thing is all of the manipulation and all of the neuro linguistic programming and stuff. If people were taught any of that, it wouldn't work. So
Yeah.
they left out all of it. I mean, whenever you look at like the Holy Bible and everything, I mean, there is a lot, those are myths that have meaning and it is a culmination of a lot of different mythologies and stuff and it's telling you the baseline story, but all of the juicy stuff was taken out, and that's like the magic, the mysteries, the feminine mysteries. So they wrote this book and they gave you all of the kind of the base ingredients. They're like, to make this cake, you're gonna need some flour and some cocoa and some sugar, you know. But we're going to hold on to how you actually make it work and put it together and the amount of the ingredients. We're going to keep it over here. So that's kind of what they did with religion.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm sitting here talking about this. I've got like a Bible from the 1700s. It's beautiful in here.
Cool.
And this is um like a Freemason book from the 1700s on
Wow.
how to set up a chapter.
That's so cool. I love those old because there's some serious truth in those older, you know, there was a
Right. It's all being rewritten and stuff
it's
now.
called treason, wasn't it? To own that in like 1860, I think they had a law in America. It was treason to
Yeah.
that's how much they wanted to get rid of those books.
There is a note on the inside of it that says this is the property of someone, or this, I found this in a dumpster or something. Like, you know, and it's like, if you find it, just take it to the courthouse and turn it in.
Yeah.
I mean,
Wow.
you can buy it, but now you can get them. I saw one at a flea market in Little Rock. It was like $150, so I didn't get it, but I saw one like a couple weeks ago.
That's cool. It's fun to be able to, because there are pieces of truth all throughout those books. It's in there. Like I found more little nuggets of awesomeness in the book of Matthew over anything else in like the regular what they have available now in the
Right.
rewritten Bible or whatever. But I mean, if you look at it, this has been repeated over and over again. And what you were talking about, how Arkansas was the island that was rising up out of the ocean, that's, all of the different flood myth stories, every creation or every origin story of every culture has a flood story.
Hmm.
The mud floods, or they're like, yeah, Noah, you got all these different,
That's what I mean by, yeah, the myth is it's really the same story every time.
yeah, exactly. And it shows its validity. So that's pretty cool.
Well, I spend a lot of time studying like fairy tales and mythology
Cool.
and just all of, anything to do with like myth and stuff and folklore. So, what you're looking for, I guess, is kind of like this common thread that's running through all of it,
Yeah,
because each group is going to have a different way of expressing it, kind of.
definitely.
So, as far as what's really going on here, you kind of have to just say, well, like you said, like, well, they all had a flood.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's in every creation story. Like, well, I come from because we're all Heinz 57s, right? We all are like mutts, basically. We have every different ethnic
By
going through,
now.
right? But the main ones that I have the Irish and the Scottish stuff, and then I have the Swedish stuff, and then I got the Native American stuff. So I'll like, and those are the myths that I follow. And
Yeah,
there's a consistent one about the land of Mu in all of those different cultures. They
right.
tell a different story, but it's or slightly, but it's all similar, and it has to do with humans, people choosing to come here or being here, and how Mu was an island on the turtle's back, and that was literally some body that we were on, and the underneath in the ocean is space. Just as you were saying earlier, space is there's a firmament that stops. When you go
Mhm.
down, you go up.
You're right, right. And whenever we are under a heliotropic society, which is what we've been under, because that's the masculine, we look outside ourselves for God and spirit. And whenever we are under the moon and the lunar societies, which is what the 13th and represents, the number 13 represents. And so whenever we are under a lunar society, we go inward. And so whenever you look around the world right now and you're like, oh my gosh, they're poisoning our food, they're poisoning our water, they're poisoning us. I mean, the government's pedophile, you're like, okay, well, that is kind of like symbolically the universe pushing you back into going internal again, because
Right.
that's the only way out of this is
Yeah.
to go inside.
Right. And to let yourself find yourself in the womb again. And
Right.
speaking of, I just got to do this little shameless advertisement real quick, is that um, we are having a gathering. For those of you who are interested in we're right in the center of the Wichita National Forest. It's really going to be a fun gathering for the June solstice for anybody who wants to come. It'll be the 19th, 20th, and 21st of June. And I put in the comments the link to that if anyone's interested in joining us for that retreat, and exploring a lot of really cool stuff around this area. It's going to
What
be,
what area is it? I'm writing it all down.
yeah, it's near Mount Ida. It's actually right next to Mount Ida. It's called a place called Sims,
Okay.
but it's like Sims would be like not where you'd go grocery shopping. Mount Ida would be where you went grocery shopping. You know what I mean?
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
A beautiful place, and it's right on a this amazing quartz crystal vein, at this location we're going to be
Awesome.
at, she only ever has like monks and spiritual retreat people come there. She won't do it for anything else. And so the land is just a sacred place. And we're going to,
Awesome.
yeah, mineral spring right there where you can drink the water of it's just like it just comes right off. And so I'm going to bring jugs, you know.
Yeah, yeah, like fill them all up.
Yeah. And then there's the crystal mines right there. So we're actually part of the ticket or in the ticket, you're going to get to go get crystals, just get them yourself, as well as the diamond mine is right there too. And so that's part of the
Awesome.
package too. And like, it's just going to be a fun gathering, you know, and we have like, it's set up where we could stay on that land where we'll be at and not do anything. But why? Why not go get diamonds and crystals while we're here, you know?
Right, right there.
Yeah.
And
Exactly. So it's gonna be a lot of
souvenirs.
fun. Are you interested in coming? You might come.
I'll have to look at my calendar or whatever. It's on the weekend. So I'm gonna look at it.
Yeah,
I wrote
it's
it all down.
Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
Okay, I'm gonna look into it and see if I can. That sounds
Cool.
fun. And
I
I just,
would love to have you here. You have so much to share, and like you've been here since you were a kiddo, so you know stuff about. I mean, I'm just learning to scratch the surface on some of this amazing ancient knowing that you have for the land here.
well, I was born here.
Oh, for some reason
So
I thought you moved here. Oh, your parents moved
well,
here, isn't that
my
right?
mom,
Right.
my mom and my aunts were all from Hollywood, California, and about a couple years before I was born, they moved here. And so I was raised by all these women out of Hollywood. My grandma was a Beverly Hills um, like makeup artist who made eyelashes for
Oh, wow.
celebrities.
That's crazy.
I know.
Well, I'm so happy that they came here to have you grow up in this amazing, beautiful place. You know, it's such a I am honored every day to wake up on this land.
It's really like it's more special than anyone realizes. I
Yeah.
mean, like I'm geology wise, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. The rock hounds around here are a lot of fun. And that's
Yeah.
actually what Mount Ida is famous for.
Oh
Mount
yeah.
Ida. And also, someone told me that Ida is actually a German word for vulva, which I thought
Yeah.
was very interesting.
Well, and where that ties in is because the word spa also comes from the vulva, and the vulvas and the spring and all of that. But whenever they gave birth or made, however, pantheogenesis or whatever they did for the first boy, that was supposed to be the god, the Zeus. He was going to be the rightful leader. And they hid him as the world became more violent and more patriarch. They hid that one in Mount Ida, you know.
Oh, yeah.
And so there's another Mount Ida somewhere else, but
Fascinating. Yeah, it's amazing. This is just and you could feel it. You could feel the quaking, the energy coming up from the quartz beneath you, even if it's like feet underneath the ground. Like you can feel the drumming of her womb as you walk. You know what I mean?
oh yeah, it's powerful. Mount Ida is so powerful.
Yeah.
Um, I love though whenever like because you're from a different area, and I feel like all of it for me, of course, I feel like it's all magic, but I think that like growing up and stuff, I didn't like it, because I wanted to be like from Hollywood too.
Oh, right. Yeah.
But I think whenever people come and they have experienced something else, that maybe they feel it more because of the contrast, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. Yeah, I knew right away when I got here. I knew I was coming to sacred land, but it was apparent as soon as I got here. I was just like, whoa, like I felt my it's like, there's that part of you that you don't realize that your shoulders are in your ears. You
Yeah.
don't realize that your jaw's clenched, and then all of a sudden your whole soul sighs. You're like, And that's what it felt like as I got here. And then the
Right.
deeper into the land that I've got, even more so, and there's definite, there's some ones that are part of the trees here. Like you could hear their whisper, you feel their whisper. You know what I mean?
Well, this was an ancient spiritual, the whole area was like an ancient spiritual gathering place kind of, you know. The reason they would build the mounds like along flatter river plains or whatever to mimic real caves and stuff was because they only made pilgrimages, and this was all neutral ground. Like once they came up into the Ouachitas and the Ozarks, it was like all kind of like neutral, like they, because you would do trade and, you know, and all of that there. Not that there wouldn't have been fighting and stuff, but they were doing a lot of their spiritual pilgrimages and initiations and all of that up in this area, you know, and you can feel that, but you can also just feel, I mean, the real science is there too. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? You've I've got reels and reels and reels about it. There's so much going on with just what is under us, you know?
Oh, yeah. And that's actually why we're having the retreat on the June solstice, is that
Right.
specifically the June solstice was the gathering time for what you're talking about.
Well, I was going to be having this is why I have to double check on this, is because I was supposed to be doing a retreat in Eureka. I mean, like putting one on so for that weekend. So I don't know for sure, but I will look into it because it sounds like fun and I love that area.
I would hope, yeah, if you can, I would love to see you. That would be so cool. And
Yeah, it would
if
be
you don't make
fun.
it out this time, well, I'm sure we're going to do another one.
Yeah.
So that would be awesome. I don't mean to keep you so long. I took you over 8 minutes longer than I promised. So
Well,
it's just
thank
so much fun to
you.
talk to you.
It was fun, and I always have to pee about this time, so
Yep. Yep.
no, it's over.
Same. And it's 8:38. Um, Thank you so much for honoring us with your presence for this powerful second Friday the 13th of the year. And there's
Yeah,
another one coming up in November
I
too.
know, I know. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
it's
But you're
very
welcome.
symbolic of what's coming.
Very much so. And you're
Right.
welcome on the show anytime. I love having you on. And I just want to say that, you're invited back whenever you feel like.
Thank you. And I will have to come back on. It's fun, and yeah, thank you for having me.
Thank you. And I'll see you all very, very soon. Thanks for joining us and sending you all love. Aho blessings.